In Independence Hall on September 17, 1787, the Constitution of the United States was unanimously approved and signed by all the states present. But not every delegate signed it. Some few couldn't agree to the strengthening of the national power. One of those who didn't sign was Governor Edmund Randolph, who had originally presented the Virginia Plan. But while not every delegate signed, the majority of delegates from every state signed, except one. Remember? Rhode Island never showed up. The unanimity of those at the convention paved the way for all the states to convene ratifying conventions in their own localities and approve the Constitution by the voice of all Americans. Once the delegates to the convention had put their signatures to the new Constitution, why wasn't it the law of the land? Why did it have to be approved again in state ratifying conventions? The answer to that question is what makes the Constitution such a special document. Because it was to be the ruling document for the newly strengthened Union of States, it had to be approved and approved convincingly by all the American people. Remember, this new government was based on a union of the American people, not just a union of their states. Let's watch and see how all of the states made it come together.
5 states to 4. We've done it. And now for other business.
Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Governor Randolph.
Mr. President, I move that this convention adjourn that the large states might consider a compromise. A true compromise, not this sham which benefits only the small states.
Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Mr. Patterson.
Let the large states take a day to hatch their scheme. But we will never back down from this binding vote.
This convention is adjourned until tomorrow morning.
Mr. Madison, there are still a great many issues to debate in this convention,
You got out early this morning, Mr. Madison.
No good government can be built upon the foundation proposed by the small states. Nor will it.
I agree.
It's time to move on to other matters. The small states are fixed. We must yield on the representation issue.
At last, someone sees the truth of the matter. The small states have compromised, gentlemen. Now we must.
You are strangely quiet, Mr. Madison.
Judge Wilson and Dr. Franklin are correct. No one could be more disappointed than myself that the convention has chosen what to me seems an unjust system. This great compromise has created a new kind of nation, one such as I had never considered. Its national government is strong and sovereign, but it has states which are also strong, separate states, but a united people. It is neither man nor horse, but like the centaur, half of each. I don't know whether such a creature can survive in the rough and tumble of the world. But I am willing to make the hazard. I am for the compromise. I am for the United States of America. When the compromise report of the Grand Committee was approved, a key issue of the convention was decided. During the next 8 hot, humid weeks, the House debated, amended, and approved the other resolutions of the Virginia Plan in General Assembly. A committee of style refined the language of the new Constitution. I am especially fond of the preamble, not we the states, but we the people. This shows to all the world that in America, the people will govern.
This body is now ready to vote in General Assembly. Major Jackson will now read the final draft of the Constitution of the United States.
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Article 1, Section 1. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in the Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and House of Representatives. The House of Representatives shall be composed of members chosen subsequently endangered and will not admit of delay. The executive power shall be vested in the President of the United States of America. He shall hold his office during the term of 4 years, and together with the vice and misdemeanors. The judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time not reconvene against domestic violence. The Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to this Constitution, or on the application of the legislature of 2/3 of the several states shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land. The senators and representatives before mentioned to support this Constitution, but no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. The ratification of the conventions of 9 states shall be sufficient for the establishment of this Constitution before the states. Done in convention by the unanimous consent of the states present, the 17th day of September in the year of our Lord, 1787, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 12th.
Thank you, Major Jackson. Mr. President. Dr. Franklin.
I confess there are parts of this Constitution I do not yet approve, but I am not sure I shall never approve of them. Because the older I grow, the more I doubt my own judgment and pay attention to the judgment of others. When you get together a group of men to take advantage of their wisdom, of course you get all their passions and their prejudices, their errors and their selfish views. Can a perfect production be expected from this? I am astonished to find it approaching so near perfection as it does. Yes, gentlemen, yes, I consent to this Constitution, and I urge all others to do so, because I expect none better, and I'm not sure it is not the best.
Thank you, Dr. Franklin. We will now vote on whether or not to accept the Constitution. Gentlemen, this vote will be binding. New Hampshire.
Aye.
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts votes aye.
Connecticut.
Mr. President, Connecticut is pleased with the compromises of this body. She votes aye.
New Jersey.
Aye.
Pennsylvania.
Aye.
Delaware.
Aye.
Maryland.
Aye.
Virginia.
Virginia votes aye. Colonel Mason is accepted.
Colonel Mason?
Mr. President, I've been wrestling with myself the last several days, and I feel duty-bound to say that I would sooner chop off my right hand than put it to the Constitution as it now stands. But why, sir? There's no Declaration of Rights in this document.
This comes very late, sir, when we are on the verge of concluding our business. If you feel so strongly on this point, sir, why did you not mention it sooner?
I feel that such a bill could be prepared in a few hours.
Mr. President,
Mr. Sherman of Connecticut.
we don't need a Bill of Rights in the Constitution because all the states have already got one.
Mr. Sherman is correct. We have written this Constitution with the express intent of protecting the people from the...
Nevertheless, generations of Americans yet unborn will look back to us for protection of their rights. We must not fail them.
Thank you, Colonel. The convention appreciates your candor. I express my personal regret, sir, that you cannot find yourself a friend to this document.
Mr. President, I also accept myself.
But you presented the Virginia plan.
I have many reservations as to the form in which it has been cast. I know I am taking a step which may be the most awful of my life, but it is dictated by my conscience.
Your exception is noted, sir. Well, gentlemen, shall we proceed with the roll call? North Carolina.
North Carolina votes aye.
South Carolina.
Aye.
Georgia.
Aye.
Unanimously, 11 states to none, this convention has, on this day, September 17th, 1787, voted to accept as its ruling document the Constitution of the United States.
Mr. President,
Mr. Hamilton.
though I am unable to vote on the motion, I will sign the Constitution so that New York may be represented on so important a document. If I might be allowed that honor.
Indeed you may, sir. Well, what remains for us to do is sign. This is, for me, a great moment. I've prayed for it, and I will continue to pray for the success of this document, for I believe it to be the hope of this country.
General, painters have found it difficult to distinguish in their art a rising sun from a setting sun. the midst of my hopes and fears during this convention, I have often looked at the sun on the president's chair without being able to tell whether it was rising or setting. But now I have the happiness to know it is a rising sun.
We faced a task more difficult than can be conceived by those who were not concerned in its execution. Men of different minds and diverse opinions came together to debate our great cause, and yet the degree of concord which ultimately prevailed was a miracle. The Constitution needs now to be ratified by the supreme authority of the people themselves. Yours very sincerely, James Madison.
I know.
Mr. Adams, really?
There, Lord Carmarthen. There you have on your obstructionist desk the most important document ever written. A piece of paper that will change the world. Read it well. It marks the end of England's domination of the hemisphere. From this moment, America takes her place as an equal in the family of nations. Gentlemen.
Take the oath.
I solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Long live George Washington, President of the United States.
Tis done. We are a nation.
"'Tis done. We are a nation." Those are the last words in the film spoken by James Madison. You may find yourself asking, what did he mean? Hadn't America been a nation before, at least since winning the Revolutionary War? Actually, we were not a nation in the same sense then as we were after the Constitution was ratified and our first Congress convened, our first courts established, and our first president elected. Now that America's central government was substantially strengthened, the nation was ready to rule itself effectively at home and prosper abroad. Americans had to trust each other enough to submit themselves to a strong central government. One reason they were able to do that was because 18th century Americans knew they shared a commitment to similar political and religious principles. As believers in Judeo-Christian teachings, they shared values which dictated that they treat one another well, to be in good standing with God. And they believed their government should act according to the rule of law, protecting every citizen's freedom and rights. Americans had also learned to have confidence in constitutions, special documents, which checked government power by dividing, balancing, and limiting it. Because most states already had constitutions by 1787, the idea of a national constitution was not an objectionable one. For all these reasons, plus the great need they felt to solve the crisis into which the states had fallen, Americans were willing to take the risk of submitting themselves to a greatly strengthened national government. More than 2 centuries of freedom under the American Constitution have justified their decision. As the decades go by, it becomes increasingly evident that what took place in Philadelphia in 1787 was truly remarkable. The Constitution that was forged in the fire of conviction and compromise now provides the standard for human freedom and self-government throughout the world. I hope you've enjoyed this series and have gained a greater appreciation for our early American leaders and for the incredible document that they created in Philadelphia, the Constitution of the United States of America.